I am Shen Yu, a licensed psychologist with international practice. My consultation fees are calculated in US dollars. But in Shanghai's elite circles, they don't call me by that title. They call me by colder names: the destroyer of romance or the emotionless money counting machine. I don't argue, because my professional philosophy is simple: no persuasion, no empathy, no verbal healing. I use logic to stifle emotions and economic principles to crush all forms of mental illness. That afternoon, I received a 50 million yuan order from Mrs. Gu, the head of the renowned Gu Group. She entered my office with the air of a dignified lady, but within minutes, even waterproof mascara couldn't hide her panic. "Dr. Shen, my son has gone mad," she said, her voice trembling. "He locked a girl in the villa, smashed everything, and the company stock plummeted 10% because of him. You can do whatever you want, as long as you get him back to normal so he can attend the board meeting." I quickly flipped through the file. Gu Jingxuan, 28 years old, sole heir. Delusional grandiose syndrome, antisocial personality disorder, and extreme possessiveness. Victim: Ling Xiaobai, 22 years old, from a poor background. I closed the file and gave a standard smile. "As long as the money is transferred on time," I said. "Within a month, I will transform him into a model citizen, peace-loving, hardworking, and afraid of losing money." At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I entered Gu Jingchuan's villa on the summit of Changming Mountain, carrying a suitcase containing a laptop, legal contracts, and a computing system capable of shattering any illusion. The moment the door opened, a blue and white porcelain vase flew past my ear, shattering against the Italian marble wall behind me. The air inside was thick with the smell of violence. Smashed furniture lay scattered everywhere. Bodyguards and servants knelt on the floor, none daring to look up. In the center of the room, Gu Jingchuan stood like a storm, his black shirt unbuttoned 3 buttons, his eyes bloodshot, his hand gripping a golf club, ready to destroy anything else. In the corner of the sofa, Ling Xiaobai cowered, her wrists scraped, her eyes filled with tears. "Jingchuan, I don't love you," she choked out. But the only answer was a furious roar. "You are mine. You'll never escape." The crystal table was smashed to pieces in an instant. No one dared to breathe loudly. I lightly brushed the pottery dust off my shoulder, calmly walked into the chaotic room, opened my iPad, and typed a few lines. "That's a beautiful swing, a perfect parabolic trajectory." My voice rang out clear enough to cut through the frenzy. Gu Jingxuan froze, his icy gaze sweeping over me. "Who are you?" he growled. "Throw her out." No one dared move. I held up the iPad screen, my voice even, like reading a financial report. Ming Dynasty ceramic vase, 3 million yuan. Italian crystal tea table, 800,000. Crocodile leather sofa, 1,200,000. Total damage in 5 minutes, 5 million yuan. I scrolled to the next page. All your accounts have been frozen since this morning. Remaining cash, 15 million yuan. At this rate, you'll go bankrupt in 15 minutes. The atmosphere froze. The golf club hung suspended in midair. "Keep hitting," I pointed to the curved TV. "This is 500,000. Then I'll contact the scrapyard at the foot of the mountain. You can start a career collecting trash to support your girlfriend. Very romantic." For the first time, something resembling panic appeared in Gu Jingchuan's deranged eyes. Gu Jingxuan stood frozen for a few brief seconds, as if his entire cognitive system had been thrown into a cold balance sheet. Then, suddenly, he burst into laughter, a hoarse, distorted, and defiant laugh. "My mother dared to freeze my account?" he snarled, his eyes flashing with that familiar ferocity. "I don't care." He swung his arm, slamming his golf club down on the stone floor, the metallic sound echoing throughout the room. "I only need her." He strode toward Ling Xiaobai, his hand gripping her wrist tightly, pulling her forcefully. The little girl panicked, her body trembling like a leaf in a storm. "Go to the basement," he said coldly. "You're not going anywhere from here." I didn't stop him. I simply picked up the neatest intact chair, grabbed the file, and silently followed behind. Our footsteps echoed down the long, dimly lit corridor, where the pale yellow light created a gloomy atmosphere, like stepping into a giant cage. The basement appeared, luxurious, enclosed, and suffocatingly cold. A space designed like paradise, yet possessing the air of a prison. Gu Jingxuan forcefully pushed Ling Xiaobai onto the bed. The soft mattress sank under the impact, but it couldn't quell the surging fear in her eyes. He took out a gold chain wrapped in velvet, the metal so shiny it almost reflected the madness in his gaze, and locked her wrists to the headboard. "From now on," he said, his voice hoarse, "you can only stay here." Ling Xiaobai burst into tears, her shoulders trembling. "Jingxuan, please." But he didn't listen. He leaned down, his eyes burning, his hand already touching her collar, preparing to tear through the delicate fabric in a final ritual of possession. "Wait." A sudden flash of light went off. I pulled up a chair and sat down beside the bed as if preparing to attend a seminar, the cold white light shining directly on our faces. Gu Jingxuan frowned, angrily turning to me. "Are you crazy?" "I'm a doctor," I replied calmly, "and you're the patient." I placed a stack of documents on his chest. "We need to talk about the costs and risks of unlawful detention." The atmosphere in the basement became strange. The chaotic emotions were brought under control by the cold numbers. "Illegal detention," I said, my voice even, "carries a sentence of 3 to 10 years. Gu Jingchuan said nothing, but the muscles in his arms tensed. "However," I continued, "that's not the biggest problem." I glanced at Ling Xiaobai, her hair disheveled, her skin dirty, her breathing ragged. "While she's chained here, you're responsible for all her daily needs. Bathing, personal hygiene, her monthly cycle." I looked up, meeting his gaze. "Are you going to hire a nurse or do it yourself?" The question fell like a knife. Gu Jingchuan froze. For the first time, his eyes showed genuine hesitation. I didn't stop. 3 days of running away on the streets. No brushing teeth. No hygiene. Bacteria are thriving. I tilted my head, my voice light as if I were talking about the weather. "Are you sure you want to kiss her?" The distance between them was only a few centimeters, but the atmosphere had completely changed. Gu Jingchuan stood still, like a machine suspended between execution command and system warning. His nose twitched slightly, an uncontrollable instinctive reflex. He smelled a very faint scent, but strong enough to shatter all his previous illusions. No longer crazy love, only biology remained. He slowly backed away. The hand holding her collar released its grip, quickly, decisively, as if it had just touched something unacceptable. Ling Xiaobai immediately turned away, covering her mouth with both hands, too embarrassed to look up. No one said anything, no need to say anything. The entire romantic atmosphere was crushed by a single sentence. "You haven't brushed your teeth in 3 days." What the hell are you?" Gu Jingchuan clutched his head, his voice hoarse, as if he had just experienced a real psychological shock. I didn't answer the question. I just opened my phone and showed him the QR code for payment. "Breach fee, 10 million yuan. He froze. I tilted my head, my voice soft but cold. "Oh, I forgot. Your card is blocked." I lowered my phone, adding as a small note, "You currently owe me 50 yuan for the taxi." In that moment, the emotions on his face changed rapidly, from anger, confusion, to helplessness. He didn't say another word. He just turned around and quickly walked out of the basement. The door slammed shut. The sound echoed, but it no longer carried the initial madness. Only a crack remained. The basement fell silent. I stood up, brushing off my clothes as if I'd just finished a meeting. Ling Xiaobai was still sitting there, her eyes red and swollen, her mind seemingly unable to process what had just happened. I placed a toothbrush and a tube of toothpaste on the table. "The key's over there," I said, pointing to the lock on the headboard. "Brush your teeth first." She looked at me, her eyes a mixture of bewilderment and embarrassment. I shrugged and turned to leave. "Love can be blind," I added, my voice casual, "but oral hygiene isn't." On the second day of his treatment, Gu Jingchuan began to resist. He chose the simplest yet most foolish method, a hunger strike. The bedroom on the second floor became gloomy. The curtains were drawn, the only light filtering in were cold gray streaks. He lay on the bed, his lips dry and cracked, but his eyes remained stubborn and defiant. "If you don't reopen my account," he said hoarsely as I entered, "I will die here." I didn't answer. I simply pushed the medical cart into the room. The sound of the wheels rolling on the wooden floor echoed steadily and coldly. He frowned, looking down. A large IV bag, needles, tubing. I began disinfecting, my movements so practiced they were almost emotionless. "Whether you die or not doesn't matter," I said, my voice calm as if I were reading the instruction manual. "But according to medical regulations, I have the right to sustain the patient's life." I hung the IV bag on the stand. 5% glucose plus multivitamin. Original price 1,500 yuan. Bedside service fee 3,000 yuan. I opened my notebook and carefully took notes. "You don't have the money, so I'll exchange it for assets." I looked up. Each IV bag, a Rolex watch. The atmosphere froze. Gu Jingxuan sprang up instantly, his eyes sharp as knives. "You dare touch my watch?" "You're starving to death," I replied, my voice unchanged. "Are you going to take your watch to the afterlife to check the time?" I pushed him back down onto the bed. The needle touched his skin. A chilling sensation spread. "1 month's infusion," I continued. "Your entire collection will belong to me." I paused for a moment, then added, as a final blow, "If you die, I'll sell your car to pay for your funeral. Basic package, 200,000 yuan, imported chrysanthemums." Gu Jingxuan stared at the needle, then at the ledger, the numbers, the items. All the things he once considered his were being appraised, separated, and prepared for transfer of ownership. Something inside him shattered. Not love, it was control. "Stop!" He ripped off the IV line, shouting, "Someone, bring me food." He gasped for breath, his eyes red with anger. I'll eat it all. No one is allowed to take a single one of my watches." I closed the notebook. A line crossed out. One patient finished. Basement. Ling Xiaobai sat huddled in a corner, her face pale, her lips white. She was also on a hunger strike. "I'd rather die," she said when she saw me, her voice weak but stubborn. "I won't eat his food." I pulled up a chair and sat down opposite her. I hadn't brought any food, only a stack of bills. I threw them into her lap. "Your mother's hospital bills, 100,000 yuan a month. Your younger brother's tuition, 300,000 yuan a year. Living expenses, all paid by Gu Jingchuan." I looked straight into her eyes. "If you die, everything will stop." Silence. Only her weak breathing could be heard. "Even worse," I continued, my voice cold to the point of being almost emotionless. "Your death will be treated as a suicide. Your family is bankrupt. He married someone else." Each sentence was like a knife, not quick, but precise. Ling Xiaobai trembled. Tears welled up. "You are too cruel." "I'm just an accountant," I replied. I pushed the tray of food toward her. "Eat." "Love can't support your family, but you can." 1 minute, 2 minutes, then the sound of a spoon touching the bowl. Fine, but clear. Thursday. The villa was silent, no longer filled with the sounds of smashing, only the sound of calculations. Gu Jingxuan stood in the bedroom, looking at the broken crystal chandelier on the floor. "A slip of the hand," he said as I entered. "Great," I replied. I opened the calculator app. Lamp, 150,000. Carpet, 50,000. Total debt, 600,000. He clenched his fist. "Deduct it from my shares." "It's frozen." "The watch?" "Sold." Nothing left. Only him. And the debt. I threw him a pink apron, printed with Hello Kitty. "Put it on." He looked at it as if it were an insult. "I'm Gu Jingxuan." "I know," I nodded. "Right now, you're in debt." I handed him the broom. 50 yuan per square meter. "If you don't do it, there's a 5% daily interest rate." I tilted my head. "In a month, you can become a male prostitute to pay off the debt." The silence dragged on. Then, he bent down, picked up the apron, put it on. His movements were stiff, but it was true. The sound of the broom sweeping echoed through the luxurious room. Swish, swish, a steady rhythm, the rhythm of labor. Sweat soaked his shirt. The hands that once signed billion-yuan contracts were now trembling from gripping the broom handle. I stood leaning against the door, recording a video, sending it to Mrs. Gu. Treatment progress. The patient has learned basic work skills. The money was transferred immediately. The notification sound rang out, brief but satisfying. Down below, Gu Jingchuan continued sweeping. No mention of Lin Xiaobai. No shouting, just working. Violence had been transformed into mechanical energy. His brain began producing endorphins. Emotions calmed down. Reason spoke up. The taming process officially began. Day 10. It was raining. Heavy raindrops pounded against the window pane, creating the perfect setting for a romantic story. Outside, Lin Xiaobai stood in the rain. Her white dress was soaking wet, clinging to her body. "Let me go," she screamed, her voice breaking in the rain. "Otherwise, I'll die here." Inside, Gu Jingchuan was wiping the table. Wearing an apron, holding a towel, he paused. He looked up. For a moment, he seemed to revert to his old self. Then, "Here's the latest hospital fee schedule." My voice came from the sofa. He froze. I turned on my laptop. Acute pneumonia. Cost 25,000. Debit 5% daily interest. Silence. Gu Jingxuan looked out at the rain. Then he looked at the data sheet. 2 worlds, 1 choice. He picked up an umbrella. He stepped outside. Lin Xiaobai trembled, thinking he would hug her, but no. He held the umbrella over her. Then he yelled, "Are you stupid? Do you know how much the hospital bill is? Get inside immediately." The romance novel world officially collapsed.